GeoGebra.com is another tool, graphing-based, used for mathematics courses in particular. The two aspects of this tool discuss really quick. One being just the graphing feature. If I click the Start Graphing, the graphing tool as a default is a two-dimensional graphing tool. And this is very useful. I still personally think Desmos.com is a little more useful, a little more intuitive, user-friendly in terms of two-dimensional graphing. However, Desmos cannot graph in 3 dimensions, and GeoGebra handles it wonderfully. So for the most part, you could just type any equation in and see the graph of that equation. And the beauty here is that I can click and drag and I can rotate my 3-dimensional space to see the graph from different perspectives. Now, typically in a Calculus 3 course, the way equations are graphed, where z is a function of x and y. So on my keyboard, I'm using the caret key, Shift 6, say z equals x squared plus y, and when I hit enter, you can see that it defines this as a function of f. It allows me to turn the graph on and off. And again, I can grab and rotate and look at this graph from different perspectives. Now I can also use the f of x key that's given to me here to look at some basic functions. I can graph derivatives, can graph integrals, can use Greek letters as necessary and a standard keyboard. And with an instructor account, which is free, I can save graphs that I'm working on so that I can come back to them later. And then I can have kind of a shortcut to the different tools offered by GeoGebra once I'm in this menu. Again, over here on the left, I could also have other options. I can save the graph. I can export this image, right? If I'm writing a test and I just want this static image, I could export this image as well as some other features. Now also when I'm graphing, I can click this other icon to the right of the calculator. I can see some other options of ways in which I can graph. I can graph points, I can graph spheres, 3-dimensionally, cubes, pyramids, so on and so forth. I can even do quite a bit of stuff that we would typically do in a classic geometry course. Now back on the home page, aside from the graphing feature offered through GeoGebra, there are classroom resources that I can explore and a bunch of different mathematical topics. Now, GeoGebra is based off of a computer algebra system, so there are resources here that are really applications or apps. And you can download most of these apps, or you can just have students access them and run them. Again, the goal here being to use these activities in an interactive and exploratory manner, utilizing some type of scaffolded, directed activity. Just to briefly show you a couple of the activities under that Resources tab, within a conversation on geometry, I can grab points, edges, vertices on these triangles and move them around, and no matter what shape or size my triangle is, I can see the sum of the 3 angles is always 180. Another really neat applet here is in a calculus course where we talk about volumes of revolution. I can type in a particular function, I can type in the limits of integration that I want to find the volume of rotation. I can show the rectangles, I can show the disks. And again, this is dynamic, so I can see in an animated manner what those rotational rectangles creating volume would look like. I can even increase the number of rectangles. Again, with a scaffolded activity, this gives me a unique, interactive, dynamic way for students to explore concepts that might otherwise be difficult to visualize. Another unique activity is exploring the Four-Color Theorem. So the idea of the Four-Color Theorem is that I can color regions of the graph without having 2 colors be adjacent. So here's 2 colors that are adjacent. I can see I have one border with the same color. I don't want that. Let me change that to green. I could do this one blue. Looks like I can't do this one blue because it would share, right? I could do, nope, can't do this one blue because they would share. Can't do it green because these would share. I'll make that red. So another really unique activity, you could have students explore a topic about graph theory. So GeoGebra gives me an opportunity to have students explore through interactive applications and quite a few different mathematically related topics for you to be able to use these in an online or face-to-face course.